So I was talking to a buddy that I served with the other day, another special ops guy, and I was asking him, like, is there anything that you can't train for to become a good special operations soldier? Because you see all these videos about what you need to do, XYZ to pass selection, what you need to do to get into this unit, this unit, this unit, right? And I was like, man, is there anything that you can't train for? And there were two things, two X factors that we discussed. And the first one is, it seems like a no-brainer. Right. But you'd be surprised how many dudes don't make it or get their bags thrown in the hallway because they lack this trait. And it's being a good team player, which means knowing when to lead, knowing when to follow, knowing you're not the most badass dude in the room because you're surrounded by 12 other badasses who went through the same training and stuff that you did. That's the Green Beret reference, right? But then on the 160th side, why does it matter if you're a good teammate if you're flying in a helicopter? Well, a helicopter crew is a team. There's people in that helicopter that you rely on to keep yourself alive, and they rely on you to keep them alive. So it's very much a team atmosphere. But just one story real quick before I get into the second X factor. So there was a flight lead that I served with in the regiment, and he had a pretty simple criteria for when he would go assess new pilots. So assessing new pilots is like when somebody's coming to try out to be a 160th pilot. So it's their chance to show what they got, right? And it didn't matter necessarily how good of a pilot they were, how well they did on their academics, how well they briefed. There was one litmus test that he would always talk about, and it was the beer test. And he would explain it in this way, right? If I had to go to the bar and sit next to this dude and drink beers with him for a couple hours, would I have a good time, or would I want to punch him in the face at the end of those 3 hours? And that was the litmus test. If you wanted to punch him in the face, then you can guess he probably didn't recommend them to be assessed successfully. If he said, yeah, he was a good time, he was a good dude, had a good personality, I could get along with him, then his chances of favorably assessing were much higher. Now, you still have to pair that with all the other technical skills, right? Being a good pilot and academics and all that stuff. But that at the end of the day, that was like his litmus test of whether this dude's going to be a good Night Stalker or not. I didn't know this until I kind of reflected on it the other day. And if you think about it, when you're in these units, you're surrounded by these guys all the time. You're living with them. You're in a planning cell with them for 12 to 14 hours at a time during a day, and you have to sit right next to them. So it's very similar to being at a bar with somebody for a couple hours, right? Without the drinking. And then pair that with like the aviation side. If you're going to a target that's 3 hours away, you're stuck in the cockpit with this dude for 3 hours. And you better hope you're not pissed off at him because he's just not a good team player, right? Because then you're going to be distracted. It's going to detract from the mission and the overall success of the mission. So it's kind of that's why I call it an X factor, because it's not really something that you can train, or you can maybe practice, right? Go play sports or something, but you're going to show up with the person that you are and the teammate that you are. And over time, even if you're able to hide that gets exposed very quickly, because you're put in these situations where your real personality is going to come out. When the heat gets turned up and the pressure gets turned on, people's personalities come out and you see the real side behind them. So that's the first one. It's teamwork, right? Are you a good teammate? The second one is trust. And this may seem obvious as well, but it's not a matter of like, can I trust this dude to do a good job? It's more like, can I trust you with my life? Right? Because it seems dramatic, but that's the reality. Is when you're flying at night and you're landing to these super technical spots where you have to put one helicopter wheel on a very small target, right? On a pinnacle or on a rooftop or whatever it might be, or even on a car or a train car or something like that, like something very small that you can't really see. Well, as a pilot, for perspective, you're way up at the front. So the front of the helicopter, back of the helicopter, right? Nose, tail. You're way up at the front. You have about 50 feet of helicopter behind you that you can't see. If you turn your head behind you, all you see is the inside of the helicopter. You can't see the outside. So you're relying on the crew chiefs in the back to give you that spatial awareness and tell you where you are in time and space. So if you can't trust them, then it's going to be a bad day. and you're going to overcompensate, overfly the aircraft, and do a lot of unsafe things that could potentially put people's lives in danger because you don't trust your crew. So the technical term for that is crew coordination, but the reality is it's a trust, and you have to have that inherent trust built in to the cockpit, or else bad things happen. So that's it, guys. Teamwork and trust. Are you a good teammate? And can people trust you to get the job done at a high level and the right way the first time? Those are massive, massive things that will come to light and get somebody kicked out of special operations very quickly.